that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here for a big week of PlayStation news for a change.
Yeah, we got stuff happening. You know, there should be really on both our gaming shows. Check out Arcade Couch, of course, if you don't already. There should be really news every week from now until E3. We're in the month to E3. We should be good.
It's crazy. It's only a month away.
Yeah, it is crazy, and we still have. You know, I don't want to deep dive onto Sony E3 topic again, but I'm still just like, you know, 2 weeks beforehand, they might be like, here's a special state of play, like an E3 period state of play. I don't know. I'm not.
The Friday before E3.
You know, yeah, I'm not counting them out. Like, they're not at E3, but I'm not counting them out of potentially having some news or
being a
something
presence in the news cycle.
Being a presence in the news cycle, yeah, not at E3. I'm like, they can do one, but not the other.
They could either do one right before or right after.
Do it before, steal the show, announce the do it, smash them out. In the trophy cabinet this week, we have a bronze trophy with EA Play coming to PlayStation 4, a silver trophy with Everybody's Golf VR demo dropping, a gold trophy with the latest state of play news, and we hit a platinum with the Raising Kratos documentary. Before we jump into all that, I did want to quickly mention, I didn't talk about Days Gone last week, after I quickly talked about the week prior, and I'm not going to talk about it again this week, apart from this quick PSA, but oh my god, that game is so fucking long, but I think I'm nearly done. So hopefully, next week...
It's bang for your buck. It's so long.
It is quite fucking lengthy. If
you know,
you're
those
one of those
people who
that
think length equates value.
Is value, yeah. In those people's eyes, I think Days Gone is a 10 out of 10. It's definitely not short.
That would explain some of the 10 out of 10s that's getting.
Yeah. If you look at games that way, then yeah, I think Days Gone is knocking it out of the park. I will say this, I'm still playing it, so I'm still enjoying it. I would have stopped if I hated it. So, but we'll get my... I really need to see the stories end before I can have my final say on if everything I've been doing to get to the end of the story, yeah, it was worth it. You know, that kind
of... If it ends with, it was all a dream, you'll be very upset.
Then, yeah, I probably wouldn't be very happy with the amount of time I've put into it thus far. All right, so let's jump into it the first time. EA Access is finally arrived, is going to be arriving on PS4. Story written up by OzGamers.com. It says, headed to the console this July, it looks like Sony is finally allowing EA Access to come to the PlayStation 4, which probably means it'll be there when the PlayStation 5 launches too. Previously exclusive to the Xbox platform, with Origin Access being the PC version. The service offers players access to a library of EA games, past and present, to play part of a monthly or annual subscription fee. And it will cost you $6.99 Australian for a month, or an annual subscription of $39.99 Australian for access to the full thing. It says, as part of EA Access, subscribers also get play first trials for games not on the service, offering up to 10 hours of play in addition to discounts if they choose to buy the game. Current titles on EA Access include entries from franchises like Battlefield, FIFA, Star Wars Battlefront, and more. Interest you, Ash?
I mean, yeah,
I guess. You like the FIFA? You like the FIFA?
I do, but I don't think they'll have the latest one out on it straight away. I think they'll hold off on that. Obviously, they want you to
get early access, 10 hours of early access.
That I think that's a good selling point. You play something for 10 hours, like especially new release stuff. You're like, I'm not 100% sure if I want to spend all my money on this. If you've got a subscription, you can play 10 hours and. Mm-hmm. In 10 hours, you should know whether you want to keep playing or not, you would imagine.
You would imagine, yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of the standard stuff that you would expect to see on the platform. A lot of iterations of the sports games and that sort of thing. But, you know, it's got Titanfall and Unravel and Need for Speed and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's not a terrible service, I guess. It just doesn't... It's got the Dragon Age... I wouldn't be surprised if Anthem's on there before you know it. So, if that's a selling point to you, I think it'll just be a pay as you go for me if I was to do it. Like, I'll have it for a month and see how I go. Give it a go. But is it streaming or is it download to your PlayStation?
It's download.
download. Okay, that's not as that's pretty alright then.
Yeah. No, don't get this fucking streaming Gaikai stuff out of here.
No.
I think it would be a much bigger story and attraction for people in a world where Anthem came out and it was this huge success because of the whole, remember Anthem's ridiculous release schedule?
Yep.
You know, it was like this day, it had like 14 different release dates, and the earliest you could get the game was, hold on. The earliest you could get the game was for the collector's edition stuff. I think the second earliest you could get it is if you brought it, like had a subscription to this and then got it through that. You know?
Yeah.
So you had to be a subscriber and then get it and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, I can imagine in a world where if one of EA's upcoming games, you get early access if you subscribe to this, that'll probably help the platform. I think subscribing to a service to get early access to a game is kind of shit, personally, but from a like business perspective, I could see people doing it, I guess. Maybe even for something like Star Wars when it comes out, you know, Jedi Fallen Order. Subscribe to EA, play, get access to it like a day early or whatever.
It'll be. You know, I'm just looking at their website, and it's like obviously the Xbox. It's on Xbox at the moment, so it's an Xbox list of games. But you've got things like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, stuff you can't currently get on the PS4 any other way. It'd be interesting to see if they'll be ported over to the PS4, or whether it's just stuff that you can currently play on PS4 that's not backwards compatible.
Yeah, it's we don't have a full list. You'd presume it'd be the same games, but
you would assume, but they were developed for PS3, which is incompatible with PS4. So
yeah, no, that's where it gets weird.
It gets confusing unless they put some work into
to allow you
making PS4 compatible. Yeah,
yeah.
If I could go back and play try Mass Effect on PlayStation 4 for like a month, I wouldn't say no. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's why I'm with
fill
you.
In my backwards, my back catalog.
Yeah. I suppose, at the end of the day, Xbox is going to have a bigger catalog if that stuff presumably won't work. So,
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see though. But yeah, I mean, bottom line is access to EA's like
access,
access. Yeah, their library there. Me personally, not really too interested. It would have to be that. I'll have to wait and see what it looks like. At least months down the line.
If you get a 10-hour free trial of the new, or early access to the new Fallen Order game.
Well, yeah, I don't need 10-hour early access. I just need it. Full stop.
Or they have these things. You have it. You get it 10 days early.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I may or may not be a sucker if they did that, but I think that's a sleazy fucking tactic to give people early access to games for subscribing to a service. But I could see myself being a sucker if they did that for Star Wars.
You think about it, you're paying $7 to play it early. How was that?
I know that exactly. I don't like it because everyone gets access to the game at the same time, or they don't, kind of thing. I don't really like these early access things.
Yeah.
The ones I don't mind is like this only a couple days for the collector's edition. Like I even remember like Tomb Raider. It was like on a Tuesday, if you got the collector's edition, you get it, and then it came out for everyone else on like a Friday or something.
There was something else earlier this year, wasn't there?
Something similar like that, I think. But when it's a huge,
might have been The Division.
Might have been The Division. I don't actually know. But it was because I got it early.
You got
I remember now. Yeah, I did get it early. But it's just because I didn't start it till it released actually. But it didn't even matter. But yeah, those ones, couple days is a couple days. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
and that's just part of the. I suppose you could just count as part of the collector's edition, and you're getting other stuff too, whatever. But yeah, to say, hey, subscribe to a service to then buy the game digitally, full price. Like I don't know. It's for 10 days early access. 10 days is fucking massive. And then the other problem with these things is often the people paying for access to these things are getting early access and the ability to even talk about what they're playing earlier than like media who's getting copies of the game. I think that's happened with Anthem and stuff. Like people had access to the game earlier than the media could even talk about it because of an embargo because they paid the money. I don't know. It's all confoundable, but nonetheless, EA access. It's in the game. It's in the game.
It's in the game.
It's in the game. Thank you. That's the same. All right. So the big thing that got announced pretty much after we recorded last week, of course, was I think it was like 4 hours later, pretty much after we recorded.
4
last
hours
week.
after we recorded the episode, not even before it was out.
No, yeah, not even before it was out. After we recorded the episode, in the episode in which I think I say something along the lines of we talk about when Sony's next state of play will be.
Yep,
I say
Death Stranding.
Yeah, and Death Stranding, and I'm like, oh yeah, it'll probably be like 2 weeks before E3 or something like that, probably.
Nope.
And then 4 hours after we finish recording, they're like, yeah, it's in a couple days. Like, fucking trolls! I swear they actually have hacked my microphone or something and listened to this
You
shit.
got an Alexa or something?
No, I don't.
Google Home? No.
It's this sort of shit that makes
just
me
hacking your
never
iPhone,
want to get
that's
one.
all it is.
Yeah, I fucking need to throw out all sorts of things like that in my house. But nonetheless, they did announce, they're like, hey, a 10-minute state of play is coming on, I can't remember what day it was, Friday morning. Yeah, Friday morning. It came and went. So we got a total of, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games shown, plus the reveal of a console and the confirmation that Days of Play is coming back. You can kind of go over that first. It's like, Days of Play is coming back. Cool. That's what they did last year. It's a bunch of discounts and fucking expensive PlayStation for you to buy if you've got money to spare the chuck around. The PlayStation they showed in the state of play, I was like, don't look that great to me.
That looks like my PlayStation.
Yeah,
it looks like my PlayStation that's been in the sun too long, sort of faded.
Yeah.
And it's just a regular PlayStation as well. It's not a Pro.
It wasn't a Pro? Oh, no. Jesus fucking hell. Yeah. Those, I know they're collector's items and some people collect these consoles and whatever else, but whatever. That was the most nothing thing. I don't really know. Like, I'm fine to just go over the announcements. I don't really want to or care to talk about it's Sony's second state of play. Like, how do we rate this
dissect
one?
It, yeah.
I feel like
rate the show itself.
Yeah, I don't feel like
I
really
feel
want
like
to
it was so short that it didn't really matter.
Yeah, the only thing on that train sort of path, I guess, is the whole. Did you see any outrage or uproar about it this time, or did you think what you could see on Twitter was a better reaction considering the first one? Everyone was like, "Oh, that was."
It was a much better reaction. There was no anger or upset people. I don't think it did help that it finished with the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, which I think was an uptick at the end of the one, whereas the last one sort of wasn't.
The Days Gone, wasn't it? No, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
I feel like they took on a lot of criticism from the last one. They changed some things, and that's fine. I was worried people were going to get upset with this one because they did announce it, and they were like, it's only going to be 10 minutes. And I was waiting for people to be annoyed that it was only 10 minutes, and then I would have been like, they did announce that. They said ahead of time it was only going to be 10 minutes, but apparently Final Fantasy solves all problems. So
it does, apparently.
So that's that, yeah. I think the most interesting thing about them announcing it and just kind of doing it as quick as they did, like on the Tuesday or the Monday after we recorded, like it's coming in later this week, means that they're kind of going that Nintendo route as well, where they'll just announce, hey, a Direct's in like 3 days.
Yeah.
There's no build up. Really, they just announce it, and it's a couple days later. Here's the Direct. Here's the state of play. So I'm happy for Sony to continue. And it was only been like what 6 weeks since the last one.
Yeah, something like that.
So hopefully that's like some sort of precedent for the
without
average sort of time we'll get. But I'm still gonna keep my not hopes up, but I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibilities for there to be another one more closer to E3, especially because I find it weird for them to show something like Final Fantasy in there, which is obviously to set up, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but to set up Square Enix's show at E3, but then Sony's like promoting E3 in this state of play technically, and then for them not to have a single step involved.
What if the Square Enix conference is a PlayStation conference?
Oh my fucking
Boom!
God, no.
It's in the same space, same time slot. PlayStation's bought Square Enix.
I'll give you another no. That's a no. All right, so state of play, May 2019. I've ordered, because there's only a couple things, and I just decided to order them in what I personally find the least interesting to the most interesting. So that's
funny
that's how we're doing it.
Looking at this list, funny that's the ordering it is.
That's how I've done it. So first thing that was shown, the least interesting thing for me personally that was shown was Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Got a trailer, release date, confirmed a bunch of new monsters and whatever else.
Long trailer.
Very long fucking trailer.
You're like, damn,
I don't care about
10 minutes.
Was it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for a thing that was 10 minutes.
It's 10 minutes state of play. It's like a 3-minute trailer.
It was very, very long. They've got a good relationship with this Monster Hunter thing though.
That's been a huge success for them and for Capcom. So
yeah. I don't care for the game, not simply because I haven't played it, and I'm probably not going to find time to ever make time to try out Monster Hunter World. No. Not that I think Monster Hunter World looks bad. It looks cool. It looks like it could potentially be fun if you had the time and effort to put into it. But because of that, of course, this trailer landed at the bottom of my interest list just because I'm like,
yeah,
cool for those that care, but it's DLC for a game I'm not playing. And everything they showed was like, oh yeah, cool, new monsters. This looks interesting.
Snow,
whatever. Yeah, snow and stuff. Yeah, you got anything else for that or
no? It looked pretty, and it felt like 2 trailers smushed together. I don't know if you felt that way as well. It was like the snow section, all the snow stuff, and then they went back to like the people in the regular forest or whatever. And I think they used the same shot twice. Like it was weird, and it went
possibly way
too long.
Yeah, it did feel like it went a bit too long. But I'm like, maybe for those that are aware of what this is showing and have more interest, it's the perfect length of intrigue.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. For us that don't actually care, we're just like, obviously, it's too long because I don't care. You know, it's a little bit biased, I guess.
Yeah.
Next thing I've put here, Riverbond, which the PS blog says, Riverbond is a cute voxel-based shoot and slash coming to PS4 this summer. I have no interest in this either, personally. We've seen this before too, haven't we? If I recall.
I don't think so.
Really? I swear I'd seen it before somewhere.
Well, it's not the most unique art style, so it's hard to tell.
Not.
It's like a Minecrafty art style if you haven't seen that.
Yeah, voxel, whatever they call it, yeah. It says, in true dungeon crawling style, Riverbond takes you on a journey for a memorable world where you'll battle monsters, find treasure, and become the hero. We wanted to challenge the nostalgia of playing games from the 16-bit era and infuse it with fast and fluid controls for maximum action. Riverbond lets you choose your playstyle by letting you select from a ton of melee or ranged weapons to fight off waves of enemies, take down huge bosses, or completely decimate everything in sight. And then also you've got like crossover skins, which got freaking... Shovel Knight, Raz from Psychonauts,
the guy from
the guy from Bastion, the character from Guacamelee, and a couple of people. Whatever, it's a thing. Does this interest you at all?
Not really.
Was you? Yeah, no. I think also the trailer didn't do it any favors personally because the trailer was so manic and focused on like, oh, look how many cool custom character skins from other games we've got. And it was like, cut. And it was like, what's going on? I'm just like, what is even going on here? Like, is there a story to this game? Is it just a random dungeon crawling thing where I can pick to play Shovel Knight and I, go wrong? Maybe it's fun if you was playing with someone else, I guess. Like some co-op-y fun thing where you could just shit talk at the same time and, you just slash away at enemies and... Yeah, a bit of a chill time doing it that way. But as a single player game, from what was shown in the trailer, like as cool as the art style looks, I'm like, I don't see anything super intriguing about the gameplay and the fact you've got all these crossover skins, as they're calling them. I didn't care. And I felt like focusing on that for a trailer was a bit weird.
Yeah.
You got any other thoughts on Riverbond?
No, it looked like a colorful adventure. There was a lot of things happening on the screen.
Yeah, there was. It was. I don't think it was a super interesting thing. All right. So interestingly, I have then put Final Fantasy VII Remake as the next interesting thing. It's not because I have no interest in the game, because I obviously have an interest in the game. It's just that it didn't really show anything new, and it was, or it did, but at the same time, it was just a trailer that ended with "Please be excited for E3." Basically,
Yep.
It's if they're going to show any lengthier gameplay, if they're going to finally explain from what section that this episodic adventure is going to take place, because it was confirmed after the fact that yes, in the Square Enix blog post on the Japanese version of their site, it was confirmed that it is in fact episodic still. That still has been made. So we still have no confirmation of which point to which point this first episode is going to take place. We still have no rough release date. We still have no real understanding of, okay, so if episode 1 comes out, is it like fucking 10 years later that we get episode 2? Is it a year later? You know, like there's a lot of questions, I guess.
There is a lot of questions.
The thing that we did get from this though is obviously it looks great.
Yep.
You watch the trailer, it's beautiful looking game.
Especially when you look back at Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they've got noses.
Yeah. Obviously, the graphical upgrade to the game stands out quite heavy. The combat is more in line
Kingdom
with
Hearts or Final Fantasy
well,
15.
Kingdom Hearts or even Final Fantasy 15. It's as much as people may want the typical old school JRPG thing. Square Enix is kind of pushing away from that, and I understand why to a degree, because I think although games like Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler prove there is still an audience for that type of combat and that type of game, a lot of people are sick of the grindy stuff of like that type thing. They want a more action-based thing. And the problem with like the problems people have with games like Final Fantasy 15 was never the combat, really. The combat in Final Fantasy 15 is fun and it works. And if you prefer your turn-based combat, you've still got an excess a number of JRPGs out there doing it. It's just Final Fantasy's moving away from that. And I think it's probably better because they're not really a niche brand. Final Fantasy is a very popular brand, you know, so
yeah,
makes sense.
Go play Persona 5.
Yeah, exactly. Go play Persona 5. So as I wrote up in the piece for it, first revealed in 2015, at time being in development by CyberConnect 2, the remake of Final Fantasy VII has had a tumultuous history, for Square Enix took the game back in-house and off CyberConnect 2 in 2017, and things are looking better now, but still overall game standouts from the original in the most recent trailer. So yeah, it's the first time I've seen it since they took it off them to take it in-house and in-house now, and fuck, I'm mental blank on his name, but what's his face? He was doing He was doing King.
Is it Nomura? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it was. It was something else. He was doing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah,
has rolled over to this now, and like I presume, obviously, a lot of the team as well, possibly from Kingdom Hearts 3, obviously would have rolled over to this as well. So I reckon production on this has picked up quite a pace.
Yeah,
since the start of the year, I think it would be easy to say. But the problems I saw people having online with this were like voice actors and all these sorts of things. The only one that personally I have a particular issue with was Sephiroth's voice, because that didn't sound at all like Sephiroth, because you hear him at the end. And in fact, the first time I watched it, I didn't even realize it was supposed to be Sephiroth, like, because the voice did sound at all like what I pictured Sephiroth to sound like. And then the other thing that I've seen a few people bring up, and I do think is an interesting conversation to have with this remake and to pay attention to as they move forward and show more about this game, is have you ever played the original?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, not real spoilers, but the game is you're basically playing as, like, the start of that game is you going in to perform like terrorism,
eco-terrorism,
eco-terrorism, right? Yeah, and the whole game of Final Fantasy VII is obviously about and I can't remember who saw a tweet it, but someone just like tweeted, it's like the game is very SJW themes, the whole game.
Yep.
Like, you know, environment and all this sort of stuff. Like it's just the big corporations taking over the planet and ruining it. Like that's the center theme of the game as a whole. And of course, there's other things happening in there, like Cloud's story and other characters' stories have their own things and whatever, but the overall arcing kind of narrative is about big ass corporations that are going to ruin our planet if we let them. And one thing from watching both these trailers that they've now revealed about the game, it is like, are we just focusing, are they going to lose what made Final Fantasy VII special to just focus on the more anime aspect of it? You know, just big dudes, big sexy dudes with big swords going around doing battle and stuff like that. Because Final Fantasy 15 was ultimately, at the end of the day, just a big old boy band road trip with swords. Thematically, it never hit its punch. It was more focused on looking cool and sounding cool than telling an interesting story.
No, I think they'll probably stick as true to the story as they possibly can. I mean, they've got a clear blueprint of what they want to do and what they have to follow. Whereas with Final Fantasy 15, that game was like in development for years under different iterations, and It seemed like it was sort of patchwork together more than anything else. So that's why the story maybe didn't hit for people as much as it could have potentially. But yeah, I feel like they'll definitely go as stick true to the narrative of and themes of Final Fantasy VII. Because obviously the SJW thing is not as huge a problem in Japan. It's like a very Western thing to have issue with SJW issues. You know what I mean?
No. Also, the funniest thing is that people who call people SJWs would probably say they love Final Fantasy VII,
yeah,
but have no fucking idea about the like political overtones or what the story of the game is actually about. So sometimes I wonder if those people do play it and they are just like, it's a game with big sexy men and swords. Like that's what like kind of you're losing what kind of made the story special in the first place, I guess, if you focus on that aspect. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. But yeah, I'm keen, definitely very keen for the Square Enix conference a bit more now.
Does that raise your interest infinitely?
Yeah, well, because originally when they announced it, I was like, I'll watch it, obviously. But given what happened last year, I was expecting to be nothing but disappointed. Now, I'm not going to go into
Are you expecting
this
this trailer to be shown at 3 other events before E3? Before the E3 showcase?
No.
They're going to have an orchestra thing where they show it. They're going to show it at the Xbox conference. You know,
I don't
like
reckon it'll
Kingdom
be at
Hearts
the
3.
Xbox conference, no.
No.
I don't reckon it'll be shown any more times. But I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking open their conference with it just to show a different gameplay thing after or something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised, put that past them. But I'm not going to get like hyped about the Square Enix thing, but I'm going into it now presuming we're getting at least a little teeny tiny bit more information about the game. I'm personally hoping for a rough ETA of the episode.
2020.
Even a year, so then I could at least know, okay, so they say 2020, so let's add about 5 years, so it's coming out 2025. You know, because you got to add Square Enix tax to the release year.
How does the tax work? Like, what's the percentage?
It's +5, whatever they say.
+5.
Whatever they say, it's +5. That's how you work it out. So Square Enix E3 conference now, at least somewhat more interesting, or hopefully more interesting. I don't know. Anytime they do anything, it's still just going to be like, you go in going, don't get hyped, because they're going to come out. They're probably going to play the same trailer. They're probably just going to say, be excited. They're probably just going to tell you, we're working really hard on the game and it's going full steam ahead. And then everyone's going to sit there going, and a release date. And they'll go, we'll be excited to tell you more in the future. Like, that's all they're going to give you or something. But I wouldn't get my hopes up too far and be like, release date for this year or release date for all the episodes or something. I'm just like, a year. Just say 2020 or something. So at least we fucking don't just bring this game out of the dump that it was in, where most people kind of forgot that was even the thing, to just remind people, hey, it's here and it's still ages away. You know, just don't bring it up just to do that. That seems annoying.
Yeah,
it's an annoying thing to go through.
Do you reckon it's PlayStation 4?
Yeah, I reckon they'll just. It's not going to finish on PlayStation 4. What? Well.
It'll get released when it finishes on PlayStation 4.
I was going to say they could release the whole thing on PS4, and then they could bring over the whatever episode 1 that's out when PS5 launches, and it could just run better. You know, like it's 60 frames or etc. They just do a different version. The only thing that would annoy me about that is if they have a season pass, right? If they have a season pass, which they may or may not, I'm hoping they don't, because it's going to be $200 for 5 years of waiting for episode 2 or something ridiculous like that. You're just complaining about fucking Life is Strange episode dates over there. You wait until you see this release schedule.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping they'll just release it. It's like, it's its own game. It's $30, something. $30-$40. It's an 8-hour experience.
Shake my head.
We'll have to wait and see. It's very confusing because the game's so big. And you have to wonder how many parts there is. And then if they come out and they're like, it's only 5 parts, I'm going to go, well, either every part is 10 to 20 hours or like you've cut a lot of stuff from the game. So that's where it becomes very confusing. It would make a lot more sense if they just cut it into 3 parts and they said everything that was on disc 1 of the PS1 release is part 1. Everything that was part 2 is disc 2. You know, that would be the easiest way to get in people's minds who have played the original where the sections are going to end, I guess.
But maybe they don't want you to know.
Yeah, I suppose they don't. Fuckers. All right, let's move on. So the next thing, one of the new things that was announced was called Predator Hunting Grounds. So it's been developed by Ilphonic, who is the developer by the Friday the 13th game, and they're currently working on this for a 2020 release date. And Sony is, from what it seems, putting their money somewhat behind it, which means that hopefully, unlike Friday the 13th, which didn't really have any money behind it, and it was originally a crowd-funded game, and then it was being published by, I can't remember. They published like Laserfear and stuff as well now. It didn't have the money to kind of keep, to really push that game to where it needed to be. And then also Friday the 13th got fucked because of the legal battle between the licensing stuff. Whereas I saw when people this got announced, they're like, oh no, not them. Surely that developer fucked up the Friday 13th game. I don't think they fucked it up at all. I think they brought as well as they could.
They did as much as they could. Yeah.
And then they had a whole license battle happening and stuff. It was very weird.
Which wasn't them. It was between like the owners of the franchise.
Yes, of the franchise. And the biggest difference, there's two big differences for this Predator thing, is A, it seems Sony's putting money behind it, and B, Fox is on board. And there's no arguments about the rights of Predator. It's just Fox has the rights to Predator.
Well,
they
Disney.
say they're making they say you're making a game for the Predator thing. They're making a game for the Predator thing. So we're not going to have all this weird stuff happening. They didn't show any gameplay, of course. It was a bit of a teaser trailer, but they did explain that the game, it says Hunting Grounds will play similarly to Friday 13th for one group of players taking control of humans, in this case an elite fire team with access to highly powerful artillery who are moving through the map looking to complete missions and take out bad guys, which all sounds very inspired by the original film. The player controlling the Predator will be tracking down human players using its advanced tech and abilities, looking to take them out. So ultimately, if you've played Friday the 13th, it's still going to play somewhat similar. If you're the bad guy, well, it's still just the overall. It's like describing a death match. The goal is to kill people. The overall goal of this, if you're the Predator, is to kill the enemy, to kill the humans. In Friday the 13th, the goal of Jason was to kill the humans.
Yeah.
The goal of the humans in Friday the 13th was to escape. The goal of the humans in this is to, I'm not sure, because it says you're doing tasks. That's the confusing thing. Is your goal to actually take out the Predator, or is it to simply complete enough missions and then survive? I guess. I don't know. That's where the confusing part is.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's going to be a different dynamic, obviously, because you're playing as elite.
You got guns.
Actual soldiers.
Yeah, they didn't say if it was third person or first person either, which is the other interesting thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But yeah, you play as actual soldiers, as opposed to Friday the 13th, you were just scared teenagers. So, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, it is being published by Sony Interactive, so it will be exclusive to PlayStation. So that's a pretty big coup, I think. Yeah, it definitely looks cool. We here at the Explosion Network loved Friday the 13th. We played it way too much. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I think it's a good fit. Obviously, you'll see how the license implemented will be the thing as well.
I saw a lot of people disappointed because it wasn't a single player game. Me personally, I mean, more excited for this than if it was a single player game.
If you're playing as a Predator, it is a single player game.
I guess, yeah. Because we like Friday the 13th game was janky. It had problems.
Yeah.
It had a lot of issues. But the core gameplay was what made it fun, especially if you're playing with other people like we was all the time.
Yeah.
That's what made it fun. So I think knowing how well they pulled off the base, Ilphonic pulled off like the base premise of the gameplay type of game that Friday 13th was, and knowing that they're going to have presumably more time and money and support behind them from Sony to put out this game, I just think that this will hopefully be as interesting and as fun of a game, but just a more polished version overall mechanically, and hopefully will be supported for a longer period of time and be better that way also. But yeah, I'm definitely keen for it. The thing I find so interesting is because like you hate horror movies and stuff. Have you ever watched any Predator movie?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, and
I haven't watched the Friday the 13th movie either.
Yeah, and I was about to say, but you'd be keen to play this, right?
Yeah, if we all get together and play it, then yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a big get for Sony too. The other thing I was going to note is because remember how big of a stream game Friday 13th was back in the day. So I presume this could have potentially the same sort of fun for streamers.
If they dropped it on PS Plus, it would blow up.
That wouldn't be a bad thing. The Rocket League effect, nearly.
Yeah.
Just it's not a bad pitch really if Sony's listening. Just drop it on PS Plus, get a heap of people playing it, get a heap of people streaming it, and then fucking make all your money through fucking skin microtransactions. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, is there different iterations of the Predator?
There is.
You can do skins?
There is different skin. You could do slight variations for the Predator.
Do you want them to include the new Predator?
No, not really. You could change the skins for your human characters more though, especially if it's if it's a first person, skins for your guns automatically becomes a big thing, I guess, or whatever. Yep. I don't know. I'm not the one. I don't really know fully what the game is and what it looks like, so it's hard to think of what microtransactions would work. But yeah, it wouldn't be a bad way to go with the type of game.
It would just be Predator versus 6 Arnold Schwarzeneggers every time.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because I'm worried like if they bring it out, it's like a $60 game. I'm like,
yeah,
I'd probably still get it. Is the thing, but I could see a lot of people not getting it.
And that will be an issue if there's not.
And that will be an issue. So yeah, then I'm like, okay, so drop it on PS Plus, as you said, or even make it a free to play game with microtransactions. Because we're not fully against microtransactions here, just the bad
kinds. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like if it's a good game, we can buy them. If you just not loot boxes, because I don't really like loot boxes, but just straight up cosmetic, costumes, skins, so you know what you're getting, what you're buying. People will buy them, of course they will. Okay, so next thing was, and this is of course my second most thing I liked at the show was the game Away the Survival series, which I hadn't actually seen before, but it was already revealed when I looked it up.
Really?
When I looked into it, I was like, oh, I had no idea that this game had been talked about beforehand. Completely missed it because it's coming to Steam as well and Xbox as well. I think it was just Sony's pushing it. I don't know what their dealio here is exactly here, but it's a thing. So I got this upcoming game from developer Breaking Walls will put you in the paws of a sugar glider who is attempting to survive a series of natural disasters that are occurring sometime in the future. It looks so, and in the PS blog post, Laurent Bernier, the creative director of Breaking Rolls, talked about the team's love for wildlife documentaries and how their last 3 years working on Away has been a massive passion project. The team also got Mike Resnick to compose the soundtrack, who has previously worked on music for Life and Planet Earth 2, among other projects. So they're building the game it's based on nature documentaries. And they want you to feel like you're playing for a nature documentary somewhat. But it's like a nature documentary while you're escaping like the fire burning down the forest around you type thing. I thought it looked really, really interesting, like different, because you're playing in some tiny little sugar glider thing. And then when you see it, like a snake appears, I'm like, ugh. As soon as I saw the snake appear in the trailer, I was like, ugh, no, thank you. No, thank you very much. And then they show a spider and crabs and all these other things. At one point, you're riding on scorpion. At one point, you're riding on a deer. That looked freaking cool. You get to like glide across these landscapes and stuff, and overall the game just looked quite stunning, like really, really beautiful look around the place. I have no idea how good it'll feel to play moment to moment and so on, but as a trailer, I was definitely hooked, and I was like, yes, please, I want this now. This looks different. This looks new. This looks exciting somewhat. I'm hoping it'll only be like a 6 to 8 hour across the 3 disasters or whatever you've got happening. I'm not really sure, but I'm hoping it's not too long and it's just more of a fueled experience from start to finish. But yeah, what do you think?
It definitely looks interesting. The name is kind of curious. Survival series.
That's the only thing I hate the name.
Yeah. It implies that it's like there's going to be more segments or maybe more play it with different things. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, it looks pretty cool. But yeah, very different. Looks very pretty. play as a sugar guy. Sugar guy simulator. Who knew we wanted that?
I didn't know I needed it until I saw it, and now I definitely want it, and I'm definitely keen to keep my eye open on more information coming out about the game for sure. Okay, so the number one thing, of course, should have been easy to guess. What from me personally from the state of play was MediEvil getting its release date plus a new trailer, and we now know that it's coming out October 25th for a price of $39.95 for the normal game, or there's on the PlayStation Store at the moment you can pre-order a digital deluxe edition for $54.95. So let's say $40 for the game. It looks great. It looks exactly like I was watching the trailer. I'm like, yes, I know this level. Yes, I know this level. Yes, I know this level. I know all these levels. They simply look prettier. It graphically looks way better than the original game, of course. Some sound effects. There wasn't enough grunting for me. That's a weird thing to call out. But for us, if you played MediEvil, he would fucking grunt like a lot. And it kind of is when I think about the game, I just think about him doing big sword attacks and or getting attacked and he's getting hit and you just hear I didn't hear enough of that, and that's quite. When I think the game, I think about that sound effect quite a lot. But from the level design stuff I saw, I'm sold. I want it. Can't wait. It's I consider it one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. I consider it one of those franchises, if I could bring back, I would. So I'm kind of hopeful that this may lead to, even if they do number 2, and I think number 2 is an okay game. It's definitely, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the first one. It has a lot more interesting and different mechanics and characters in it, but maybe we can get to 3 one day if people like this. And then the other thing I found interesting is that on the PS blog, Nick Accordino from SCEA also teased that would be new stuff for the returning players in the game. So I'm keen to find out exactly what they've added or changed and these sorts of things. But as someone who hasn't played it, what do you think of the trailer, Ash?
It was a story trailer. I mean, it looks fine. I didn't know he died straight away in that battle, so, you know.
Yeah.
So how good is he really if he just dies from one?
Oh, he's not very good. The thing is like he is a coward that dies really in the original, really. Like he stumbles for a moment and he just dies on the battlefield, and then he's buried as a like a hero, but he's not. And then he awakens when the game starts. You're brought back to life for reasons, of course, and it's the whole game is you trying to fix what you caused by fucking up that battle, because you lose to the main villain, and then of course the world's all gone to shit, and then you need to save the world. But there's also segments where the way you unlock new weapons and stuff in the game is if you kill all the enemies in a level, and then you find the secret chalice hidden in the level, which you'll only be able to grab if you've killed all the enemies, because it fills it up with souls, right? So you can find the chalice but not be able to pick it up until you've cleared all the enemies in the level. But when you get those chalices, you can then take them down to this, I think it's called the Hall of Heroes, which is where you can interact with the souls of all these other heroes that have died in massive battles and stuff. And a lot of them make fun of you, because you're the this kind of coward and you don't deserve to be down there and all these sorts of things. But that's how you get new weapons and stuff through the game, and it's got interesting characters and stuff to interact with down there. I wonder if they're going to add a lot more voice acting to it, because there wasn't a super lot. Like, for instance, in that you see in the trailer the segment where the villain, I'm fucking mental blanking on their name. Oh my god, Garv. Oh Jesus, I can't remember. But the villain doesn't matter. The villain comes down the street in the village, and they start and they turn everyone in the village into like crazed villagers, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like all go super crazy. In the original game, there is a video clip of that happening where they kind of walk in and they do it, but it's like, I don't know, 30 seconds. No one says anything. It just like holds up the magic wand and casts a spell or whatever, and then you see everyone start going crazy, and then of course like the level starts. I'm wondering because what they showed in this trailer seems to be cut a little bit differently to the original game, so I'm wondering if they'll actually have the villain like say some stuff these times, maybe you hear a bit more about the village. I don't know, but I'm just wondering if they've added a little bit more to the story, considering there was limitations back in the day, I guess, but now you could, and they were revoicing Sir Daniel, like they were redoing the lines and stuff. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be more interaction from the story front. But yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's a fun game to play. It's very silly. Its setting's great. Has some memorable boss battles from back in the day. I'm very, very keen. And I think the price point is pretty spot on, $40. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. Like, I don't feel like they're overpricing it. People will probably kick and scream and go, yeah, but the Spyro collection was, like
Same
only
price.
Well, it was like
Close.
60 or whatever for 3 games, I guess, but fuck off. Sir Daniel. Sir Daniel Fortescue. You can't argue with Sir Daniel Fortescue. Are you going to pick it up at all? Or do you reckon you'll wait to see it? Not at all? Full stop? Is it because you think it's a horror thing? Or
No, I just have no interest whatsoever. But I'll let you have this.
Okay. Because I was about to say, I think that the game was only rated like PG back in the day or something like that.
Yep, I don't care. I'm not interested. Maybe just out of spite as well, So I can keep
I'll
making
fire
fun of
you.
it.
We'll fire you. So this past week, they released on YouTube, and by they I mean PlayStation, this documentary called Raising Kratos. And what I originally thought was going to be a maybe half an hour behind the scenes type featurette that you could find on, I don't know, the special features of a game disc or something. Like, I remember the God of War 2 one was on the disc and stuff, I think, as well as like, just, it's a half hour behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. It was actually a nearly 2 hour long, really well made and put together documentary that actually was a lot more open about the process than I thought
Yep.
it would have actually been, considering it's been published by Sony itself, but it doesn't make everything out to be, happy and flowers and all these sorts of things. But so what did you think of this documentary?
It was riveting. I mean, it did. I would turn it on at like 10 o'clock at night, like, I'll watch a bit of this, see how it is.
That's exactly what I did. And I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm like, freaking hell, it's like almost, maybe it was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, fuck, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So I need to watch all of it. It's great, riveting story. Obviously they showed how difficult in-house, they showed the tough side of making games, I think, where it was like coming towards the end of trying to hit their deadline, and there's all these freaking bugs and everything.
3,000 something bugs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
And just sort of see the toll it takes on people. Like, obviously there's that moment with Shannon Studstill in the
She gets asked if it affects her, and she says she doesn't want to
how's
talk
your
about it.
family? And she's like, I don't want to answer that question right now.
Yeah.
You just know it's not going great at the moment. And then even like Christopher Judge, obviously, interesting to see his point of view on the project, and sort of him thinking it's an apology to his children for being away for like 10 years working on Stargate, obviously.
Yeah,
And that sort of thing. So
yeah.
And Sonny, the kid, looks so young as well
At the
compared to
start,
now.
yeah. Well, they cast him in 2015 or something, I think it was.
Well, yeah, when they started doing it like 5 years ago or something.
Very, very fucking early though. Like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy. And like, it didn't seem like they got Christopher Judge until maybe a year later or something. I can't remember.
I think that's what the story was. I've heard elsewhere that it took a long time for them to cast Kratos. So.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they just get a known actor, like after after all the searching and stuff. And I also think it's obviously somewhat focused on Cory Barlog as the main character, I guess, of the series, which makes sense. But it doesn't focus too much on him and forget everyone else, so it works. Like, you do get these things of Christopher Judge and all these other people like having emotional moments and telling their stories, but Corey as the centerpiece, and they make that known. Yeah, they make that known from the start as the opening credits or whatever you want to call it starts playing, and it's showing footage from him talking like back in the God of War 2 days and these sorts of things, and then they open with basically explaining how they brought him back to lead the team in a new direction, and he comes in and he looks so much younger when you see these scenes of 2015 compared to the ones now. Like, and I'd say he's aged like a fine wine too, because I think he looks a lot better these days than he does the the older footage as well, which is funny. But then another thing is, of course, he's talking about how this story and the reason he come up with it, the direction he wanted to change the story with Kratos was to do with a lot that was happening with him in his life. And he talked about how, God of War 2 was based on him and his dad's relationship, and he had his dad like go over the story somewhat with him as well, and Zeus versus Kratos and these things. And then coming into this version, because he just had his child, that he was saying how his viewpoint in life is a lot different these days, and that's how the story direction changed. But it's funny because of how long the development period is. Just like there's that scene there where they're going through the warehouse or whatever it is that they were turning into the new studio for Santa Monica, which was supposed to be their B team studio or whatever. And he seemed like the kid's like, I don't know, 6 months old, it seems there or something like that. And then you cut to years later, to the E3 showing even when they revealed the game, and it's like so much. It's just like crazy how much time passed on one fucking game.
Yeah. Freaking crazy.
It's mind-blowing, really, how much time they spend on this shit, considering big blockbuster movies, even like Avengers and stuff like that, will only take a couple years to like come up with something like Endgame. And a game like this can take 5+ years of time. It's absolutely fucking nuts. Overall, the story was interesting on the God of War front, but there was also a couple things I thought stood out just from the Santa Monica side, because they talk about this project. It was something or other. Something 6, wasn't it? Here.
It was Internal 7.
Internal
is the code name. Yeah.
Which was actually the game they were working on as their A project when Corey came back in, and he started putting together a relatively small team to just start kicking around prototypes and ideas and these sorts of things, it seems. But then I saw some people commenting in the comment section, or maybe it was on the IGN story about this, and they were saying things like, why did they were basically saying it was their fault that a lot of people lost their jobs and they had to cancel the project because they couldn't bring it together, or because they canceled it, it was someone's fault, for canceling the project, all these sorts of things. But from my understanding, the way I took it, it was one of those games where they'd spent like 3.5 years or whatever on it, a long time, something like that. And the reason it got cancelled is because although they had all these cool ideas and whatever else, it simply wasn't
working,
coming together at all to form a product. And I think at some stage someone just had to be like, this isn't like, as cool as some of these ideas are and as cool as stuff looks here, you're not making a game if you're just constantly working on ideas and stuff. And if it's not going to click and come together and there's no vision, really, it seems like that's the reason they had to cancel. It wasn't like, God of War Ascension didn't do so well, cancel this project. That's not at all what it seemed like to me, but some people seem to take it that way, which I thought was weird. I don't
understand how you could come to that conclusion.
Oh, fucking, I don't know. I think it was IGN comments, so of course that's where it came. And then it was interesting how after that team kind of folded, then they got, all of a sudden, Corey's team, who was over there, just a couple people kicking around ideas, all of a sudden had, I think they said 110 people just rock up and be like, we're here now because our game got cancelled. Where do we start? And Corey had to be, and everyone over there was like, we don't actually know because we weren't ready to kick into
early,
very, very early for this. So I thought that was an interesting look at the development side of how these sorts of teams and stuff can
that 1.5 team structure.
Yep.
That a lot of studios have taken. So,
and then seeing all this, there's also I thought it was funny, just that one part where Corey's going to E3 and how he's they of course that's a big moment of the Docker, and I think it makes sense given how monumental that was for the game as a moment, but also because you could tell Corey that was one of the most stressful parts of the whole process, I guess, because they really needed people to like the game at that point.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was also that, if you don't remember, they had a live orchestra
that too,
at the E3 where he played the game live.
Yeah.
So just getting that all correct, I guess, was pretty stressful. So
yeah. I like how he they're talking or whatever, and then he just like chucks on the hoodie and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go sneak into. And it's funny because I found it funny. He's like, it's not like anyone's gonna recognize me. I'm like, maybe back then your chances would have been tiny,
small. Yeah,
pretty small. Hardcore God of War fans, hardcore Sony fans may have recognized you.
Yeah.
These days, no way he can walk in through the front door.
You're like one of the
get recognized
gaming
the faces of
gaming superstars.
Yeah, at least over the last year has become one of the most known faces, I guess.
Well, he was on nearly every single podcast except ours. So
yeah,
anything that had video, he was on.
That's true, and he was on stage for every Game of the Year award.
Received every single award possible.
Pretty much.
I couldn't believe he won. He won Best Sports Game. This was weird. I found the music stuff interesting. Like, yeah, I was going to mention that the Bear McCready and stuff. Yeah,
Bear McCready, that stuff was really good and interesting. I often find like one of my favorite parts of watching, because I did like a Skyrim behind the scenes stuff back in the day, and my favorite stuff about that whole behind the scenes stuff was always the music stuff and how they built the orchestra to do the full squad music and all that sort of stuff. So I found this interesting as well, where they're talking about getting the Icelandic people to do the songs because they could speak the closest natural tongue to Old Nordic and these sorts of things, and then also,
even just Kratos' theme being only a few notes, because he's a man of few words.
Yeah, that very it is like one of the standout pieces. The dun, 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 like, but he said like it seems like he had the bass music or whatever, and he was like, yeah, it's missing one thing, and then he just added those couple heavy bass notes to it, and it was like, yep, that's it. That's the one we need to do. What was it? There was something else I was doing. The other thing that was interesting, I don't think it was like shocking really, but it was like at least one point in that where Corey, when they're talking about moving the release date, says about how they're going to make many of these games. And we kind of know that already, but I just seeing him say it to, not on a podcast to listeners, not on to Games Media Press, or like to tease the possibility of sequels and all these sorts of things. He was saying it to his team at the point, like we're building a world franchise, here, franchise. We're taking this studio somewhere, some new directions. After everything that happened there and how much they seem to have such struggle on just, because it seems like a lot of time was obviously spent on just getting to where like they even knew where they was going. It's like years of just ideas, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work, these things, blah, blah, blah. There's an interesting bit where they have like a test group or whatever, and they're talking about Atreus being too powerful. Yeah, that was really interesting,
the QA stuff.
I think that might be when they changed it, because I took it as like, at that point, Atreus would just auto-fire his arrows and stuff like that. But then, of course, in the game, you actually have to press buttons and upgrade his abilities.
Or upgrade him before he starts firing by himself,
before he starts firing himself. So it's like interesting little tidbits like that where people are pointing out things, and Corey's, you can see his face just being like, fuck. Like, yeah. And then when I'm talking about sequels and stuff, I do have to wonder and hopefully assume maybe, or hope for at least the team, that it'll be less stressful for the sequels. I feel like
it helps that from what I've heard before, they spent years trying to get that axe throwing
to work.
Yeah. So if they don't have to worry about the mechanical stuff, they just have to work around the artistic and story sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not as stressful.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not because I want one to suddenly come out left field tomorrow, next year or something like that.
I would like that, but
it would be nice, but that's not like where this is coming from. It's more from it seems that the biggest struggle for them was, some of the gameplay stuff, or just the core, like, where's this set? Because they do show in the doco at one point an unreleased teaser, which was interesting, where it was being set in Egypt, and the kid wasn't even his son, and it's like, how long did they spend working in that direction before they're like, this isn't working, and then they change it to the Nordic thing and all these other things that are happening. But it's as weird. I find it really weird because I think it was a really, absolutely, as you said, riveting documentary.
Yep.
That is one of the best video game documentaries I think I've watched, and it's for free.
Yeah.
On YouTube. I think that's shocking.
I think the most interesting thing, I guess, is they decided to put a documentary crew or somebody document the making of this game.
From start to finish, yeah.
From start to finish, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine being
whose
that
decision
person.
that was, because it paid off from whoever decided to do that, because,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if they would have released it if it was a major flop. Maybe they still would have because it would have been an interesting story.
Yeah.
But it's an even better story now that how big of a success it is, and they get to put it out now. And it's like, here, learn how a lot of people say one of the greatest games of all time was made, and the game of 2018, game of the generation, blah 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 blah. Learn how that was made. So yeah, and it's free. I think everyone should watch it. I think even if you don't like the game, you should watch it because it's just interesting from a development
there is some
standpoint.
spoiler stuff in there. Is there anything?
Yeah, there is a cut. Yeah, look, they do have they literally have the last scene from the game in it, pretty much. So there is spoiler stuff, but at this point, if you haven't played the game because you don't really care about the game because you don't like God of War, and let's say you're like me, remember before the game came out, I don't like Kratos. I play the game. I'm like, okay, I'm more on board with this version of Kratos. Cool. This is better than the old version we had. But I went into that game, of course, thinking about old Kratos. Even with the trailers and everything, I still went into that game like, okay, yeah, still the same character though. Like, this is still a continuation of those games. Let's see how we go here. And I feel like a lot of people may not have played it because they didn't like God of War previous games and these sorts of things. I legit feel like you could watch this documentary, get slight details spoiled, but then possibly make you want to play the game because
I was thinking, man, maybe I need to go back.
Yeah. It actually made me might like the game more because they talk about such just knowing the emotional resonance it has from so many of like the actors or Corey and these, the heart people put into certain elements of it. Yeah. Definitely, if I was to replay it, I definitely feel like I would have a different experience having watched the documentary and just known certain elements and stories, gameplay mechanics, these sorts of things, like what they went through and brought to it. So they didn't mention the trolls once though. That was good.
Didn't they?
No, they didn't mention those fucking trolls.
Okay. The other thing I thought was interesting is that they obviously talked about Shuei Yoshida in the documentary and how he played like a terrible demo that he thought was horrible, that Corey didn't think was as bad as he let on or whatever. But I would have liked them to have interviewed Shuhei as well.
Yeah.
Just
what do you think of it? Shuei's like, no. I do find it funny because sometimes people are like, what does someone like Shuhei even do? And it's like, I think people underestimate just because he floats around, he seems like a happy-go-lucky character of a guy. Like, he's still one of the heads up there of Sony. And much like the heads of any sort of game development company, they rock up at studios that they own because they want them to make them money. They want them to put out good products, and we'll be like, hey, give us a go. As weird as it sounds, I know I said I was going to talk about Days Gone, and I'm not trying to shit terribly on Days Gone, but the way Days Gone released, like the version they would have printed on the disc, like the Gone Gold version of the disc, was so buggy, and we know that because we're up to patch like 1.7 or 1.8, such thing. Watching that thing with Shuei just made me wonder, like, when Shuei played Days Gone, what did he think about that? You have to wonder sometimes how these. It was just like, I can't ship it.
Yeah,
get out the door. We'll fix it in patches. We promise you. We'll get it worked. But yeah, check out Raising Kratos. It's free. YouTube. It's on all the YouTube PlayStation
free people
channels
free
for free. And yeah, as I'll just reiterate, I do think even if you didn't like the game, haven't played the game, don't care about the game, love the game, I think just from a game development standpoint and interest in game development at all, it's a must watch. 100% a must watch.
You'll appreciate the game development cycle more after watching this, I think.
Yeah. It makes me feel bad about any time I come on here and you complain about stuff, but at the same time, I feel like there's a line of just like, of course, I feel like we never shit on anything. Most of the time on all our podcasts and reviews and written content, I do feel like we're mostly constructive criticism, but then of course when you watch something like this, you're like, I just want to be nice to everyone because look what they're going through, like that sort of thing. But then it makes me feel so much even worse about the people who don't even offer constructive criticism, and like the internet trolls who are just like, fucking put the game out, blah, blah, all these things that make it sound like it's so easy and blah blah blah. It's just like, fuck off. You make all those people watch this sort of shit and whatever else. My dreams pick for this week, Ash, is a very short, and I'm going to call this a meme rather than a level. It is a playable game, takes about 5 minutes to finish, but it made me laugh out loud at just one thing, and that's why I'm calling it a meme. It's called Escape Tetris, and it was done by Emil Rules 97, EMILERULES 97. And what I'm just going to explain it. So I'm going to ruin the joke. If you'd prefer to play it and not have the joke ruined, skip ahead 5 minutes, I guess. But there's no way to not talk about it because it's the reason I'm talking about it. So you start, and I think it's at first I thought the game was going to be kind of crappy. You start, you're in the Tetris like rectangle shape, like the blocks are dropping down, and you can move around, and you start having to jump on top of the blocks and dodge them to make your way up to the top of where the blocks are dropping from. And at first I thought it was kind of controlling like crap, and I got hit by one and I disappeared through the level for a second and popped back up, and I was like, what is this junk? Nonetheless, stuck through it. I get to the top of the level, and I begin walking around, and all of a sudden you're like an office corridor sort of thing, and I walk into a room, and then it's got like several blocks laid around, like Tetris blocks, and then on the straight 5, 6, whatever they are, blocks, 4. It says, don't use these attached to it, on like a piece of paper or a sign or something. And then for like the jagged, like four ones or L-shaped ones, not the L-shaped ones, the like real squiggly ones or whatever they're called. Yeah. The worst ones. It says, use a lot of these. Yeah. Made me laugh. I was like, that was funny. No, there was more. You walk through you continue walking through, and you enter like an office building, and it's got like sound effect of people like hitting on like computers and like talking and stuff like that. You can't see anyone there. And they've got like different huge shapes of Tetris blocks and computer machines and whatever else. There's some posters on the wall and stuff. And then you go through all that, and you get to the end of the level, and you have to do like a kind of crappy platforming section to escape to get to the exit. And then you walk through the exit door, and it says, you've escaped Tetris. Well done. If anything, I actually was like, I really wish this whole concept would get expanded on, because I'm like, the idea of getting to like starting the game and being like, what the fuck is going on here? And you escape through the Tetris thing. And I'm like, this is a funny joke. And then you walk into the office. I'm like, oh, this is kind of intriguing. It's like a Portalesque or a, what's that again? Parable Stanley Parable type thing going on. All these sorts of things. I'm like, as a concept, you could just expand this and just have it maybe be like a half-hour thing. Because like there's so many different versions of Tetris that you could fit in like other funny bits and bobs and whatever else. And you can make some platforming sections, or even maybe have fucking Tetris shapes, guards, and make like some sneaking sections. I don't know, but it made me laugh. And I feel like it could be expanded on to be a bit funnier. But yeah, I took a screenshot straight away of that thing, because I'm like, that's quite funny. That's why I'm picking it for the week, because it actually made me laugh out loud. That's great success. Because I walked into that room and I was like, like this was worth climbing up these crappy blocks to get up here.
PSVR for the players.
Everybody's Golf VR has a demo out.
Yep.
I saw you played it the other day.
I did.
I played it today.
Good.
What did you think?
Yeah, it feels like golf, I guess. It I don't know. We haven't talked notes or anything. Could you play on the course? Is the only thing that I thought.
The demo only offers you the driving course, so you can do your typical long shot driving practice, or you can do your like hitting out of the rough practice, or you could do your putting practice. That's it. And it's a demo, so it's like, no, here's how the game will roughly
because it
play.
gives you the option to go to the course. You get out there, and then you can't hit anything.
No, yeah,
which is ridiculous. Just don't put it in the demo if you can't do anything.
I feel like it's just it'll work to be like, hey, here's how the game's going to feel. Here's how it's going to look. Here's how everybody's golf mechanics translate into the VR world and setting. Does this work for you? Yes, no. Because like obviously the course design and how long they are and how many they are and these sorts of things is going to play part in the overall value. And for people, if you're reviewing the game as a whole, that's important. But as a like, should I get this? Yes, no. I'm not sure if I'd like golf in VR. I'm not, blah, blah, blah. At least you get the idea of how it's all going to work.
And it's not like super like motiony. Like you don't need to do a full golf swing.
No.
You only and that sort of thing. So yeah, I had trouble like hitting the ball straight. Was the only thing, but other than that, just because of my swing, yeah. It's either fading or drawing. Yeah, you know.
I didn't mind it. I think obviously I'd need to put a bit more time into it, and I'd love to do a full course because that would really tell you. But am I enjoying doing this full course? Like from the moment of hitting a ball to hitting it onto the green to actually putting the ball in, like how is that experience as a full thing? Because this is just broken up into 3 different courses. There's not one long running. You don't hit it off the thing that doesn't take you over to the putting section. You know, it's like separate completely things. Yeah. And then like even if you're doing the putting thing, if you don't get it in, it doesn't take you closer to finish off the putt. So I sat there for, I think it took me 5 minutes or whatever to get the fucking bowl in, but then I got it in twice in a row on the putt thing, and I'm like, I am a champion. I am a god at this game. That's it. I'm done with this demo now. But up until that stage, I was hitting it so close, and like in the real game, it's so close that it'll move you. Then you'll move your character closer, and I would get it in the next
tap in
hit. Yeah, it's just tap in. But I'm still just like, I want to hit this fucking this fucking ball in. I think it's funny. I think maybe one thing people worried about with this thing is because everybody's golf isn't a hardcore golf simulator. It's like more of a fun arcadey type thing. Like it's not super arcadey, but it's not super simulation either. It's like somewhere in the middle, I guess. And that's kind of pretty much how I think this VR thing is working as well. You know, it's not super simulation to where you have to wind up your shots behind your shoulder and hold perfect posture and all these sorts of things, which is nice. But then at the same time, as you're just saying, like if you want to hit it straight, you got to make sure you keep your arms straight and firm as you
do a good straight motion.
Yes, straight motion. So for those sorts of things, I could see it maybe being annoying for some people. But I mean, there's a level. It is a VR motion control game. Now I played it with a Move controller standing up. How did you? Also, how you did it?
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm going to play it, I might as well stand up with the Move controller and do the full thing. It does have the option to play it sitting down with either the DualShock or the Move control as well. But I'm like, that's not. I mean, I'm fucking playing golf, man. Like I want to be standing up.
What's the point?
What's the point? I want to stand up and do it. So I enjoyed it.
Interesting. For what it was. Obviously, the tablet thing and sort of you hold up the Move controller and you can see what the buttons actually do, which was helpful.
Yeah. That was a helpful feature, I thought. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, the tablet thing was a bit weird. I don't know if it was just because of how I've got the VR headset set up, but it sort of seemed out of focus.
It was for me too. I had to readjust it every when it got close to my face or hold it.
Whether it's just because that text is slightly not in the right spot.
To find like the perfect angle or something like that to hold it. That's how most VR games I find it, especially on like, well, for PSVR at least. You got to find it like anytime it's like bring this up to your face to read it in any game. I'm like holding like finding that perfect angle of where I'm trying to hold the thing. But
hopefully this is multiplayer.
I don't think it is. Is the only thing. I think it's only single player, which is the annoying thing. Yeah,
because it'd be great to trash talk each other as if we're trying to line up for a shot.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if this is something they could add in down the line. Possibly, I don't really know. But as a single player thing, are you interested or are you?
I think I'll give it a go.
Sale or
we'll see what reviews are like and that sort of thing, or if it's on sale, pick it up.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm pretty keen. Hopefully I'll pick it up. Hopefully, love to get early access to it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink.
Who are you winking
nudge. At? Sony, they're listing because they announced state of plays after I've.
Yeah.
Here is your ETC for episode 110. Rage 2 is out this week and its trophy list looks pretty easy, considerably a lot easier than the first game's list, that's for sure. It's focused on combat-related trophies like kill 3 enemies within 10 seconds after using the defibrillator to get full health, kill 13 enemies while riding on a zipline, kill an enemy that's trying to kill an enemy that's kill an enemy that's your enemy, and more. There are a few mission-related trophies and some miscellaneous type stuff, but it's mostly combat stuff, and there are no collectibles unless you want to count this trophy for getting all these spy drones and balloons to shoot down. But from what I can tell, they're not proper collectibles, so I'm not really counting those. the other trophy list that popped up that was interesting was Devious Dungeon 2. The first Devious Dungeon was my final platinum to reach 169 in my challenge last year, and now it has its sequel coming out. The trophies look about the same. If anything, this game could be a lot quicker than the first game, actually, without the play 100 levels from the first game and get, I think it was 100 keys from the first game as well. For this one, Devious Dungeon 2, all you got to do is beat this roguelike, it seems. And to be honest, I'm pretty keen, like not just for an easy platinum, but also for the game in general. Devious Dungeon is the most paint by numbers roguelike dungeon crawler game you could possibly ask for, but it's perfect in that regard for a cheap plat and some podcasts catching up, you know, like all the other Explosion Network podcasts you're not listening to right now, but you could be while you go for the Devious Dungeon to platinum. Thank you for joining us on the show this week. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, Shley, Hobley. You can follow this show on Twitter at Plat Podcast. That is, as it said. Don't forget to rate show on Apple Podcasts if you can. If you can't, word of mouth. Enjoy it. Tell a friend. Spread it around. Hashtag retweet it. Or just retweet it with a hashtag, or just retweet it without a hashtag. Do what you need to do. You can join our Discords, chat to us about games, and ask for trophy tips. Send in questions and topics for the show. ExplosionNetwork.com/Discord. And this is, of course, a product of the Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, and much more at ExplosionNetwork.com. And you can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Until next week, remember, every trophy counts.